Hello and welcome to Inside South Asia with me, Bhairavi Singh. Weather extremes continue in South Asia from forest fires to excess rainfall. The subcontinent is seeing erratic weather. We tell you more. Also on the show, a detailed report on India's election process, the voters, the contenders and the trends as polling ends in at least half of the constituencies. Pakistan is seeking aid from Saudi Arabia and Iran. Can Sharif shake off Pakistan's debt? And there is a new point of conflict between India and Nepal. Here's a quick look. First up on the show, we are halfway through the elections in India. Voting for 93 constituencies in 13 states ended on May 7th, which means more than half of the 543 parliamentary seats have been accounted for. This phase saw voting in some BJP strongholds like Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, while Karnataka could emerge as the dark horse. Maharashtra saw some fierce family battles, and now, as India prepares for phase 4 of the elections, we focus on some keenly watched battles ahead, in particular in old Gandhi bastions of Raebareli and Amethi.
Phase 3 of voting on the 7th of May. Big names and high-profile seats go to the hustings. 283 out of 543 Lok Sabha constituencies have wrapped up polling with this phase. 5 states, Karnataka, Gujarat, Assam, Chhattisgarh and Goa, have completed voting activity. Overall, Indian election season is past its halfway mark and there are signs of speculation and forecasts around things to come. One factor being closely tracked is voting percentages, a dip of 3 to 4% over 2019. The Election Commission has acknowledged a dip in the voter turnout due to the heat, a taken-for-granted approach, or other factors. Low turnout in some metropolitan cities has been attributed to disturbing rigid levels of apathy in urban seats. Looking ahead to Phase 4 on the 13th, 1,700-odd candidates for 93 constituencies in 10 states. All 25 seats in Andhra Pradesh, all 17 in Telangana vote on Monday, largely completing the voting process in South India. A lot is at stake for the Congress party and the Bharatiya Rashtriya Samiti party here. Time also to zoom in on Amethi and Raebareli seats in Uttar Pradesh that go to polls in Phase 5 on the 20th of May. No two Lok Sabha seats have occupied the political centre stage for so long in independent India. It was only on the 3rd of May, hours before nomination closed, that Rahul Gandhi announced that he would contest from Raebareli. The nomination came with invoking of the divine too. The Congress decided to give its Amethi ticket to loyalist KL Sharma and not one of the Gandhis. Look back and the journey has been decidedly downhill for the Gandhis here. In 2014, Raebareli and Amethi were the only seats that the Congress won. In 2019, the BJP's Smriti Irani defeated Rahul Gandhi in Amethi by 55,000 votes. The political equations have drastically changed since then. In the 2022 Assembly elections, the Samajwadi Party won 6 out of the 10 seats in Raebareli and Amethi Lok Sabha constituencies. The BJP won 4. The Congress failed to open its score. The Gandhi family and its managers are aware of the stakes in constituencies labelled pocket boroughs and bastions. They know that defeat will rob the Gandhis of that carefully constructed cult status.
And in other news, alongside the India-Nepal bonhomie on multiple fronts, there's been a distinct undercurrent of tensions over border demarcations. Adding to that, Nepal has released a new currency note last week showing parts of India as its territory, reviving a decades-old storm. WION's Nepal correspondent Saloni Murakka has more.
Kathmandu releases a new 100 Nepali rupees note.
बैंक नोटको अग्रभागको पृष्ठमा रहेको नेपालको नक्साको सट्टा नेपालको नयाँ नक्सा राखी रुपैयाँ 100 दरको बैंक नोटको डिजाइन परिमार्जन गर्न स्वीकृति प्रदान गर्ने भन्ने.
But more than a feather in its cap, it's a reignited border row with India that takes center stage. The map of Nepal on the new currency note stirs up an old storm. Lipu Lake, Limpiadhura and Kalapani are shown as part of Nepal. Nepal had even amended its constitution in 2020, expanding its political map to incorporate these territories that are part of India's bordering Uttarakhand state. India has reacted sharply to the move again, as in the past, pointing out the unilateral act rejecting Nepal's claim as untenable and an artificial enlargement.
I saw that report. I've not looked at it in detail, but I think our position is very clear. Our position, with Nepal, we were having discussions about our boundary matters through a established platform. And then in the middle of that, they unilaterally took some measures on their side. But by doing something on their side, they are not going to change the situation between us or the reality on the ground.
Both India and Nepal have done little to really resolve the bottlenecks along their border. The Kalapani area along the river Kali is of strategic significance as it serves as a tri-junction between India, China and Nepal. India stresses Kalapani is in the Pithoragarh area of Uttarakhand. Nepal claims the river originates from Limpiadhura or Lipu Lake and considers both the locations as part of Nepal's Sudur Paschim province. The issue has arisen repeatedly since the late 1990s and taken on heated proportions post-2020.
The deep culture and historical ties between the two countries, India and Nepal, have often helped to ease the tension over the issues like Limpiadhura-Kalapani boundary. However, the increasing frequency of the boundary issues resurfacing is concerning and could strain the ties between the two countries, unless both sides decide to engage in a dialogue to find an amicable solution. Kathmandu and Delhi both realize the importance of maintaining positive relationship as it shares a border of over 1,800 kilometers. Both sides continue to expand its bilateral relation despite these irritants, from engaging into a mega hydropower deal to strengthening its cross-border financial connectivity. But however, if these issues are not resolved, these factors will continue to determine the bilateral relationship in the future. Saloni Murarka from Kathmandu for Inside South Asia on WION World is One.
And while Pakistan is faced with mounting debt as the IMF begins talks this month for a long-term loan deal, it has strict timelines for adherence. Shehbaz Sharif came to power on the promise of fixing the economy. And to that effect, there have been two high-profile visits in the last month to Pakistan. One by the high-powered Saudi delegation, another by the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi. While in April, brother Nawaz Sharif even made a private trip to China, which many called a special assignment. Here's more on Pakistani government's latest outreach. A 50-member delegation led by Saudi Arabia's Assistant Minister for Investment, Ibrahim Al-Mubarak, arrived in Pakistan on Sunday, with representatives of some 30 Saudi firms from sectors such as IT, telecom, energy, aviation, construction, mining, agriculture, to name a few. The high-powered delegation for Saudi investment comes amid reports that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman himself will be visiting Pakistan mid-May, marking his first visit to the country in 5 years. The visit will be the third in-person meeting between Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in just 5 weeks, and comes just a month after the visit of the Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to Saudi Arabia, where the two leaders discussed expediting a $5 billion package deal for Pakistan. Pakistan has been reeling from a severe economic crisis for more than 2 years, with its inflation at one point shooting up to nearly 38% and its foreign currency reserves depleted to $3 billion in February 2023, enough to cover less than 5 weeks of imports. In June last year, Sharif was able to avoid a sovereign default when he secured the IMF bailout, pushing the current forex reserves to almost $8 billion. Pakistan's external debt obligations currently stand at more than $130 billion. Just last month, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif discussed a new loan program with the IMF managing director when they met on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Riyadh. Islamabad is seeking a new, larger, long-term extended fund facility. Pakistan has some of the highest rates of inflation in South Asia. The current average inflation stands at 24%, down from 29.2% the previous fiscal year. While the sensitive price index may have reached the 2-year low, the inflation situation remains uneven. Essential commodities like gas continue to remain high. With gas being key for cooking, it has a bearing on Pakistan's inflation as well as foreign exchange reserves. The high cost of gas has destroyed several households, with some even contemplating taking their own lives.
Just like the costs are getting higher and higher, so should our salaries. I don't think our minimum wage is enough for a person to survive. A person should get at least 70 to 80,000 a month in order to survive in this economy.
Sometimes I feel like ending my own life, but I'm not doing so because I have to feed my family, my children. But the situation is extremely dire. The government promised us that they will reduce inflation in 2 years, but ever since then, the costs have increased by 2 to 3 times.
Nothing is changing. I earn 40,000 a month, but I don't have enough to make ends meet. What am I supposed to do?
Meanwhile, the Saudi-Pakistan relationship has seen an uptick in the recent months, with both sides keen on engagement. Mohammed bin Salman's possible trip to Pakistan comes just 2 weeks after the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi vowed to invest $10 billion in Pakistan every year during his visit to Islamabad. One of the promises Sharif made during his campaign was a pledge to fix Pakistan's beleaguered economy. And the Pakistan Prime Minister certainly knows it's a race against time as he reaches out to his allies. And well, our next story from Pakistan is of rehabilitation, hope and second chances. Islamabad Zoo was once home to neglected elephants and undernourished lions, which the court shut in 2020, concerned about the intolerable and inhumane treatment of animals at the facility. Now, 4 years later, it has been given a new lease of life as a rehabilitation center for Pakistani wildlife. Our next report explores this major turnaround.
The Islamabad Zoo grabbed international headlines in 2016, albeit for all the wrong reasons. American singer and actress Cher gave a much-needed boost to a campaign launched by animal rights activists for the release of the last Asian elephant in Pakistan, Kavan, living in substandard conditions at the Islamabad Zoo. Kavan, who was dubbed the world's loneliest elephant, was relocated to a Cambodian sanctuary. But Kavan's treatment wasn't an isolated case at the infamous zoo. 2 lions had died at the facility when, in an attempt to force them from their pen, zookeepers had set fire to piles of hay. Over the years, hundreds of animals listed on the zoo's inventory had simply vanished. It's a tale of apathy, neglect, and a callous attitude which forced Pakistan's climate change ministry to take serious note and led to intervention by the courts. But within months of its closure in 2020, roots of a small rescue center sprouted at the facility. And now, after 4 years, with evidence of its past as a tourist attraction fading, activists vouch for its newfound position as a proper rehabilitation center with over 50 animals.
It was a place which really a lot of not international standard for animal. We hope here now this change to be a rescue place for rescuing the animal, rehabilitating them, and we hope some of this animal will have a better place in the future.
But the problem is far from over. Leopard cubs poached for their mothers, bears forced to fight dogs in underground competitions, and monkeys made to dance for coins summarily thrown at them remain notorious features of Pakistan's dark underbelly. Add to this the wrongful notion prevalent even among children that animals are mere toys, and we have an urgent situation on our hands. Making matters worse is political indifference and abandonment.
We'll have about 10 bears, and we hope to actually create a permanent sanctuary space for them here on these premises, because it's right next to the hills, it's cooler here, and we have 28 acres of land. And then we can open it to the public for guided tours.
We keep the animals occupied to help them erase the memories of the trauma inflicted by poachers after they pick them up from the jungle. In the zoos, they are merely fed from a bowl, leading to excessive sleep or stress. The bears you've observed here exhibit signs of joy, roaming freely, climbing trees, a stark contrast to the captivity that deprived them of happiness.
The last presidential order on animal welfare restricting bear baiting was passed over 2 decades ago by then-President Parvez Musharraf. The rebirth of the Islamabad Zoo holds hope for a better future.
And with that, it's a wrap on Inside South Asia. But